She didn't see me at first. The glass wall of the lobby shimmered under the neon signage, and she was standing inside, just beyond the security desk, clutching her clutch like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Her coworkers swirled around her, laughing, loud, confident, buzzing from free drinks and approval. But she stood still and stiff, like someone had just whispered something that didn't sit right. And then, he touched her back. Not a casual touch, not workplace appropriate. His hand stayed there. I was parked directly across the street, lights off. She hadn't answered my last 2 texts, so I'd come inside the garage and waited. No drama, no confrontation. I was just going to pull up, wave, and drive her home. But now I couldn't move, because she hadn't flinched. His hand didn't move either. She looked up at him and smiled. Not wide, not bright, but slow, familiar. A smile I hadn't seen in weeks, maybe longer. Then her eyes darted to the door. I think she saw me. Just barely. Just a flicker of recognition through glass and shadows. That was the first time her smile dropped. I was still staring when the elevator chimed behind her. More people spilled out. The guy who had touched her said something else, then laughed. She didn't laugh back this time. She pulled her phone out, stared at it, didn't type. And then, out of nowhere, she bolted. He reached for her wrist, missed. She walked fast, heels snapping against the tile, out the side exit, not the front. I didn't think. I started the car. And that's when everything unraveled. I didn't know what I was doing. I just drove, pulled out of the parking garage like I'd done it 100 times, except this time my hands were shaking on the wheel. I didn't even signal. I caught a glimpse of her through the side mirror, fast walking across the sidewalk, head down, like she was trying to get somewhere before something exploded. She didn't text, didn't call, nothing. I could have honked, rolled down the window, said her name, but I didn't. I just followed, slowly, headlights dimmed, like I wasn't her husband but some stranger in the night trying to piece together what went wrong. She took a right onto Elmwood, where the lights were sparse and the bars were closed. She kept glancing over her shoulder, not looking for traffic, looking for him. The guy from the lobby. The one who touched her like I wasn't part of the picture anymore. That's what hurt the most. That her body didn't react. Like it already knew him. Like he was expected. She ducked into an alley. I stopped at the corner. Killed the engine. Slid out quietly and crossed the street, heart pounding like it was trying to warn me off. I wasn't trying to catch her. I wasn't trying to spy. I needed answers. Even if they were going to gut me. That alley was quiet. Empty. Not even dumpsters. Just a dead end between 2 old brick buildings and a flickering security light near the back entrance of what looked like a warehouse. Mallory was standing there. Alone. Hands pressed to her face. She didn't cry. Just stood frozen like she'd been hit by something invisible. Then, without warning, she dropped her phone. Not fumbled. Not slipped. Just let it fall. It clattered against the concrete and landed face up, screen still glowing. She didn't pick it up. She just took one deep breath, turned around, and walked straight back toward the party building. I didn't move. I waited until she disappeared down the block, until her footsteps were gone, and the only sound left was that buzzing security light clicking overhead. Then I stepped forward and picked up her phone. And that's when everything changed. Because the screen was still open. To a text thread. A message sent just moments ago. From a contact named Don't Answer Red Heart. It read, "He's here. I think he saw. What do I do?" There was no reply yet. Just the blinking 3 dots. Typing. And suddenly I was holding something radioactive in my hands. I should have walked away. I should have left it on the ground and gone home and pretended this night never happened. But I didn't. Because those 3 dots stopped blinking. And what appeared next wasn't just a reply. It was a command. Stick to the plan. I'll take care of him if I have to. I froze where I stood, her phone lighting up my hands like a confession caught mid-breath. The words on the screen didn't make sense at first, not because they were hard to read, but because my brain refused to believe them. Stick to the plan. I'll take care of him if I have to. Take care of who? Me? Or was it about someone else? I told myself I was being dramatic, that maybe it was some inside joke between coworkers, but that excuse died in my throat before it even sounded real. The phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, it was just a single heart emoji, red and pulsing against the black background. I didn't know what hurt more, that someone else was sending my wife hearts in the middle of the night, or that she had a contact saved as "Don't Answer" with a heart next to it. like it was both a warning and a temptation. My thumb hovered over the screen. I wanted to see more. Every instinct screamed, don't. But the damage was already done the moment I followed her into that alley. I opened the chat. The history went back weeks. Dozens of messages. Some were short, some deleted. But the ones that weren't, they told a story that twisted my stomach into knots. He suspects nothing. It's fine, he's too trusting. Tomorrow's perfect. Same place? I didn't know if I wanted to scream or vomit. There were photos too. Nothing explicit, nothing you could call proof, but enough to make me feel like I was staring at someone else's wife entirely. The lighting, the way she smiled, the way she wrote "can't wait" in lowercase letters, soft and intimate. She used to write that to me. I heard footsteps echoing from the other end of the alley and nearly dropped the phone. My first thought was her. My second was him. I shoved the phone into my jacket pocket and pressed myself against the wall, my heart hammering so hard it felt like the bricks were shaking. The sound grew louder, heels clicking fast, uneven. Mallory. She was back. She stopped halfway down the alley, hands shaking, scanning the ground. Her eyes darted like a trapped animal's. "Where is it?" she whispered. I didn't move. I could smell the faint perfume she'd worn, that floral kind that used to mean date night, but now felt like guilt bottled in glass. She turned in circles, panicked, then pressed a hand to her forehead like she was trying not to break down right there. After a few seconds, she took her keys from her purse and ran back toward the street. When she was gone, I finally exhaled. My body felt like it was made of static. The only thing grounding me was that phone buzzing again in my pocket. I pulled it out just long enough to see one more message appear on the lock screen. This one made my blood turn cold. "If he found the phone, get home. I'll handle the rest." Handle the rest. I didn't even think. I sprinted back to my car, fumbled with the keys, and floored it out of there. My hands were sweating, my pulse pounding in my ears, and every red light felt like it was taunting me. When I got home, the house was quiet, lights off, like the world had gone to sleep without me. I sat on the couch, still clutching her phone, trying to figure out if I was being paranoid or if I had just stepped into something much darker than betrayal. Then, at 12:03 a.m., my own phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. I didn't answer. Not yet. Because for the first time in my life, I was scared of what my own wife might say. I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch in the dark like some rejected extra in a noir film, the kind who stares at a phone like it might bite. Mallory called 3 more times after midnight. Then a text. "Please just answer. I'll explain everything. Just don't do anything stupid." Don't do anything stupid. That was rich. I hadn't done anything at all. I hadn't confronted her. I hadn't yelled. I hadn't even cried. I just sat there like a damn ghost in my own house, holding her secrets in one hand and wondering if she was actually scared for me. Or of me. I finally picked up on her 4th call. I didn't say hello. I just waited. Her voice came through the line raw, tense, and performative, like she'd rehearsed. "Curtis," she breathed. I dropped my phone. "Did you happen to find it?" I could hear whine through the speaker. She was outside, probably pacing, maybe even close. "Yeah," I said carefully. "I found it." Silence. "Where are you?" she asked next fast. "Home. Where I thought you would be by now." Another pause. Then she chuckled nervously, like we were having some stupid sitcom misunderstanding. "Look, I can explain everything. Seriously, you've got the wrong idea, Curtis. Just let me come home and we'll talk, okay?" I glanced down at the device on the coffee table. Her phone was locked again. I hadn't dared touch anything else in it. "Not yet. You said you'd be done by 10, I said. My voice was flat, hollow. "You said it wasn't really a party, just a year-end wrap-up. You said I could come, then changed your mind. You said I was being paranoid. And then tonight, you smiled at someone like I didn't exist." "That's not true," she said quickly. Too quickly. I didn't smile. "Curtis, I swear, it's not what you think. That guy, he's no one. We work together, but—" "Stop." My voice cracked. "Mallory," I read the messages. All of them. I saw what he wrote. Silence again. This time, thicker. Then, calmly. "Where's the phone now?" I almost laughed. "That's what you're worried about. You don't understand," she snapped, and for the first time, the real her broke through. "You were never supposed to see those. This is bigger than you think. Curtis, please, don't talk to anyone. Don't send anything to anyone. Just wait until I get home." Bigger than I think. What did that even mean? My stomach twisted. This wasn't just some affair. She sounded less like a guilty wife and more like someone trying to protect a secret under threat. And suddenly, that earlier message, stick to the plan. I'll take care of him if I have to, sounded a lot less metaphorical. Mallory, I said slowly, what are you mixed up in? Just stay home, she whispered. Please, don't answer the door. Don't talk to anyone. Lock everything. I'm coming. I'm coming right now. The line went dead, and I sat there, heart racing, because now I didn't know what scared me more, what I'd read, or what she hadn't said. Then, not even 3 minutes later, headlights swept across the living room window. A car pulled into the driveway, but it wasn't hers. Someone was at the door, and they didn't knock. I didn't move right away. Something about the way the headlights hit the window, slow, deliberate, like they wanted me to see them before anything else happened, made my breath catch in my throat. The engine shut off. No doors opened. No feet hit the pavement. They were waiting. My hand drifted toward the phone on the coffee table. Not hers. Mine. I didn't even realize I was shaking until my fingertips failed to unlock the screen 3 times in a row. By the time I finally opened the keypad, the porch light flicked on by itself. Motion sensor. Someone was coming. And then I heard it. Not a knock. Not a doorbell. Just a hand, pressing firmly against the wood. Once, then again, slower this time. Not like someone asking to come in. Like someone testing the barrier. I stood, barely breathing, and crept toward the peephole. My body felt heavier with every step. My own house didn't feel like mine anymore. My skin didn't even feel like mine anymore. I peered out, and there he was. The same man from the lobby. The one who touched her back. His face was clearer now in the porch light. Late 30s, sharp jaw, pale eyes, hair perfectly styled like it was still part of the party. He wore a long black coat and carried nothing. No phone. No umbrella. Nothing but that expression, calm. Too calm. He knew I was there. I was about to step back when he spoke, loud enough to hear through the door. Curtis, right? I didn't answer. I wasn't even sure I could. I just want to talk, he continued. Nothing crazy. I'm not here to hurt anyone. That was the exact thing you said if you were here to hurt someone. He sighed and leaned against the doorframe like we were neighbors, and I owed him sugar. Look, I'm not the villain in this, man. I know how it looks. But I promise, this wasn't supposed to go like that. She panicked. That's all. My blood went ice. She panicked. So they had talked after I saw her bolt from the alley. Maybe even since our call. I'm going to leave something for you, he said, crouching slowly. I heard something being placed gently against the door. If you're smart, you'll read it and stay quiet. This isn't about marriage problems, Curtis. It's way beyond that. Footsteps retreated down the porch steps. I watched from the side window as he walked back to his car, a sleek black sedan, no plates I could see, and drove off like it was just another Monday night. No rush. No hesitation. I waited a full minute before opening the door. There, sitting on the welcome mat, was a plain white envelope. My name on the front. No return address. No smudges. Just, Curtis, written in neat, almost sterile handwriting. I brought it inside like it might explode. Inside was a single page. Typed. Centered. Clean. This is your only warning. If you're reading this, you've stepped into something you don't understand. Stop digging. Don't show the messages. Don't call the police. You've seen too much already. If you care about your safety, or hers, you'll let this die? No signature. No threats. Just finality. I don't know how long I sat there, just staring at the paper, rereading it over and over like it might change the more I looked. But it didn't. Then, for the first time all night, I cried. Not from heartbreak. From fear. Because this wasn't just cheating. It wasn't just lies. Whatever Mallory was caught up in, it had rules. And someone had just delivered them to my door. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. I sat in the living room like a scarecrow, motionless and strung together by stress, the envelope still sitting on the table next to her locked phone. Every time I blinked, I imagined headlights pulling back into the driveway. Every creak in the house sounded like a footstep. My body had gone from rage to fear to something else entirely, a kind of numb dread that made everything feel like a movie I was watching from behind glass. At 5:47 a.m., I finally stood up. My legs were weak, and my back ached like I'd aged 10 years overnight, but I moved, slowly, purposefully, toward our bedroom. Her side of the closet was still immaculate, like always. Mallory believed in order, in appearances, in keeping her world perfectly stacked and polished on the outside. But I knew what to look for, and I wasn't done being quiet. In the back corner behind a row of coats she never wore, I found it. A soft leather organizer pouch I'd never seen before, tucked behind a shoe rack and zipped shut. I hesitated. Then I unzipped it. Inside was a navy folder, unmarked, but packed. Documents, contracts, travel itineraries, multiple copies of what looked like non-disclosure agreements with company logos I didn't recognize. Ravel Group, Axiom Syndicate. The names sounded made up, like shell corporations in a thriller. The dates stretched back nearly a year. There were flight stubs to cities she'd never mentioned. One to Phoenix, one to Montreal, one to London. I checked the dates. One trip overlapped with the weekend she told me she was visiting her sister in Denver. There were payment slips too, but none from her actual job. These came from wire transfers through third-party accounts, and the numbers weren't small. One of them had a note at the bottom. Final phase retainer, post-client sign-off. What client? What phase? I started to shake again. Not out of fear this time, but out of something harder to name. A creeping sense that I didn't just lose her. I never knew her in the first place. Then I found a photo. Not printed. Not old. A fresh, glossy, full-color print tucked into a side sleeve of the folder like it had been slid in recently. Mallory. With him. In a hotel lobby, somewhere warm. Her hair was down. Beach waves. Golden lighting behind her. They weren't kissing. They weren't touching. But they weren't just standing there either. They were waiting for something. Someone. Mallory was smiling in that picture. A different kind of smile. One I'd never seen on her face before. Confident. Cold. Certain. I put everything back. Not because I was done, but because I couldn't breathe. I needed to get out of the house before she walked in and found me like that, crouched over the proof of her double life. But as I turned to leave the room, I heard the front door unlock. Not slowly. Urgently. The click was followed by fast footsteps, heels on tile, the sound of a bag hitting the floor. Then her voice, sharp and alert. Curtis? I didn't respond. She rushed into the hallway, hair messy, makeup smeared like she'd been crying, or pretending to. She looked at me like she wanted to run into my arms. But I didn't move. She stopped when she saw my face. Her eyes darted to my hands. She knew. You went through it, she whispered. I said nothing. You don't understand, she said quickly, stepping closer. It's not what it looks like. Curtis, please. Let me talk before you. Before I what? I finally snapped. Before I go to the police? Before I send copies of those contracts to your job? Or maybe before I disappear like the guy who wrote you that note? She paled. You don't get it, she said. You were never supposed to see that folder. It wasn't even supposed to be here. I made a mistake. A mistake. I barked. Which part was the mistake? The fake work trips? The guy outside my house? The message saying he'd handle me? Mallory froze. Her lip trembled, but not like she was scared. No, she was calculating. Then she said something that chilled me more than anything else that night. I didn't want you involved. But now, there's no way back. Mallory's words echoed like a siren in my skull. There's no way back. She didn't look scared anymore. Not sad. Not guilty. She looked like someone who had finally accepted something ugly. And the longer I stared at her, the more I realized I wasn't looking at my wife anymore. I was looking at someone I used to know in a version of reality that didn't exist anymore. I need you to sit down, she said softly, stepping forward like she was approaching a wounded animal. You're not in danger. Not yet. But if you do anything stupid right now, it won't just be you who pays for it. I didn't sit. She sighed, glanced at the hallway behind me, like she was checking for exits. That made me angrier than anything. Start talking, I said. All of it. No more pretending. No more fake crying. No more you don't understand. I want to know exactly what you've been doing, who he is, what the plan is, and why there are folders in your closet labeled with fake companies. She nodded slowly, swallowing hard, then walked into the kitchen like she needed the routine. She poured water, but her hands shook, and for the first time, I saw something crack in her. Not guilt. Something worse, resignation. I wasn't cheating, she began. Not in the way you think. It wasn't about love, or lust, or escaping us. It started because of work. Not my actual job, something else. A side contract. The kind no one writes down. The kind that doesn't exist on tax records. She looked at me now, really looked. You remember when we hit that rough patch last year? When we were behind on bills? When I said I'd pick up freelance work? I nodded slowly. That wasn't a lie, she said. But the kind of work I took, it's not something you list on a resume. It started as a referral. A marketing firm with clients who wanted discreet emotional leverage. Executives, CEOs, politicians, men with too much to lose. I thought it was just behavioral consulting, soft intel, legal gray areas. Nothing serious. And the man who came to my door, I interrupted, was my handler, she said bluntly. We call him Victor. That's not his real name. She kept going. At first it was harmless. Information gathering. I'd attend events, get close to targets, pretend to be something I wasn't. Smile, ask questions, record what mattered. There were other women too. A full operation. But eventually, it changed. We were assigned to build connections. Emotional ones. Intimate ones. So you were cheating. I was pretending to cheat. She snapped, then caught herself. Curtis, I never. Physically, it wasn't about that. It was about control. Distraction. Breaking trust so that their real secrets would come out. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The room felt like it was spinning. You're telling me you're some kind of emotional spy? I'm telling you I was stupid enough to say yes to a job that paid in silence and danger. I stood frozen as she reached into her purse and pulled out a second phone. A small black device I'd never seen before. No case. No apps. Just a burner. They told us we could never involve our families. That if the line between work and home got blurred, everything collapses. But I made that mistake. I left a trail. I slipped. You weren't supposed to know about any of this. So why the threat? The note? Why tell you to get home? Why did he say he'd handle me? She flinched. Because they think you'll talk. They've done this before, Curtis. If a spouse gets too curious, if they threaten the operation, then containment kicks in. Discredit, surveillance, and if that fails. She didn't finish the sentence. I sat down. Not because I was weak, but because my knees finally gave out. She stepped closer, slowly now, voice lower, like someone walking a tightrope in a burning building. You have two options, she said. Option 1. We go to them together. You hand back the phone, tell them you understand it was all a mistake, and I vouch for you. They'll make you sign something, and then it's done. You forget everything. I stared at her. And option 2. Her voice cracked. You keep digging. You go public. And if that happens, neither of us will be safe. You, me, your family, anyone they can use as leverage. Silence. Why me? I asked quietly. Why come back here? Why not just disappear like the others? Her eyes finally watered, not from manipulation this time, but from something she didn't want to say out loud. Because I made the same mistake they warned us about, she whispered. I cared about you too much. And just like that, I didn't know whether to hate her, forgive her, or start running. I didn't answer her right away. I sat there, hunched over in the chair like I'd just climbed out of something burning. The folder was still in the bedroom. Her burner phone sat like a loaded weapon between us. Mallory stood with her back straight, but her eyes flickering. Waiting, calculating, afraid of what I might say next. And all I could think was how strange it felt to have the truth. All this time, I thought I was just a husband being slowly erased. But no. Turns out I was the single variable in an equation built on deception. An accident in someone else's carefully structured plan. I wasn't supposed to matter. But I did. You say you cared about me, I finally said, voice hoarse. But you lied to me for almost a year. You let me believe I was crazy. You covered your tracks so well. Mallory, I forgot who I even was trying to be good for. She looked down. She didn't argue. I stood up and walked to the coffee table. Her real phone was still there, the one I had picked up from the alley. I picked it up and slowly held it out to her. She stared at it, confused. You're giving it back? I nodded. And the folder's where it was. I didn't make copies. I didn't send anything. I didn't call anyone. A long silence passed between us. But there's one condition, I added. Her lips parted. I'm walking away. Tonight. I don't care what you do after. I won't tell anyone. I won't expose you. But you'll never hear from me again. I don't want a debrief. I don't want a script. I want out. She stepped toward me instinctively, panic rising. Curtis, wait. You can't just disappear. You don't understand what they'll think if you... No, I said, sharper now. You don't understand. I'm not scared of them. I'm done being afraid. I'm not going to run or hide or play dumb. I'm just going to stop being part of your story. I walked to the door, grabbed my jacket. My bag was already packed in the car. I hadn't realized when I did it. Maybe I packed it mentally 100 times before. I paused at the door, one hand on the knob, and turned back just once. She looked smaller now. Not weak. Just human. For the first time in this entire mess, I saw her again. Not the operative. Not the liar. Not the stranger. Just Mallory. And somehow, that made it easier to leave. I drove through dawn. No music. No GPS. I kept heading west, past city signs, past guilt, past the memory of who I thought I was in that marriage. Around noon, I stopped at a rest station and got out just to breathe. That's when I checked my phone. One new text. From a number I didn't recognize. Thank you for making the smart choice. We wish you peace. That was the last I ever heard from them. Mallory didn't try to contact me again. I didn't block her. I didn't need to. She understood. Weeks passed. I found a room for rent outside a small town, started doing freelance repairs for a local IT company. Not glamorous. Not exciting. But mine. I bought a used bike. Started sketching again. And for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to choose me. I had already chosen myself. And somehow, after everything, the lies, the betrayal, the fear, I didn't feel broken. I felt free.